It's been quite a while since I've streamed. Okay, I think we're live. Yes, I think my phone just notified me that I'm live. Did my phone just... Basically, I can manage my Twitch from my phone. Anyways, I have multiple monitors, which makes this way easier. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stars Without Number Remnant, part of Burning R&D. By the way, that's the show name. I guess that was an announcement. Episode 0 has come out, has been streamed, and it is looking really good so far. We did character creation, made our ship, figured out exactly how the ship was acquired, sold from pirates is a short version, and right now we are going to go through the GM side of playing Stars Without Number, Revised Edition, which from the GM side is nearly identical to the first version. So, the biggest feature that Stars Without Number has for the GM is the faction turn. If you are familiar with Stars Without Number at all, it's probably one of the first things you've heard. For those unfamiliar, effectively, the GM plays their own mini-game in between adventures, or every month. There's guidelines of how frequently you do it. The frequency itself isn't a huge deal. The short version is, I'm going to play a mini-game. Every GM of Stars Without Number, if they're GMing it according to the rules, will play this mini-game, where they will pit factions against each other within the sector. Now, as you can see, I'm gesturing to my monitor, we have a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet's the name of the game. We have a bunch of factions that are established in this sector, and we are going to turn them into numbers using the systems established in the book. Now, I've already decided most of the stuff for each of these factions, because if I didn't, it would take me like 3 hours to stream this. I do not have 3 hours. So, with that said, let's begin. So, if you are watching this to learn how the game works from the GM perspective, I hope this will be enlightening to you. So, we've discussed, if you watched the previous episode, a few different factions. I have here my whole... Now, if I remember how to switch tabs, that's how I switch tabs. That is the sector. My players have access to the sector. They don't have access to all the secret stuff to do with this sector. They can't see each of the tags. They can't see everything, unless they're watching this stream, which I said they can if they don't care about spoilers. I think some of them might be. So this is our sector. I've already looked at pretty much every planet in the sector and thought about, like, ooh, I wonder how that would work. How much work you want to put into prep up front for Stars Without Number is entirely up to you. What I like to do is I've had the sector generated for months, and I've liked to let it marinate, let me gather up ideas. It lets me just think on it and let it sit. And from my own experiences, doing that makes it better. That's not always the case for everyone. If you are very busy or just don't feel like it, just generate it the day before the session, or generate it 5 minutes before the session. The entire sector, using Stars Without Number. You can do that if you want to. The rule of the game, and this is the suggestion that the book says multiple times for GMs, is prep only what you need for next session, and only keep going past that if it's fun. That's it. So I've done a lot more because I found it fun. If you don't, then note. Simple. But having looked at these planets, I have come up with a number of interesting, hopefully, factions that will populate it. Usually, from my experience, I've run a full, like, 1.5 year long campaign of Stars Without Number, almost 1.5 years, over a year for sure, of the first edition Stars Without Number before. So I have quite some experience with it. And from my experience, over time, as the players visit different planets, and depending on what they're interested in, you start with some factions, you just, like, you look around and say, what's important, what's a good group, etc., etc., and just put them on the spreadsheet map. As the players visit planets, and as things become more deeply explored, more factions are going to pop up. You're going to say, oh, the players are really interested in this. Well, let's give it the spotlight of being involved in the faction turn. So whatever the number of factions that you start with, expect it to go up from there. Not rapidly, not doubling unless you have like a 10-year-long game or something, but you're going to get some more. So, yeah. Now, what the heck does a being in the faction turn mean? Let me open up my book here and go to that section. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to very quickly run through what creating a faction means. I've already, as I said, pre-created these because I thought this would take forever. But this is what... So, a faction, as far as the number, is not every single group. It's not exhaustive. There may be other large-scale groups around in the sector. These are not... I don't know how many I have, like 8 or something factions listed, and we're going to be creating. These are not the 8 most powerful factions in the game. These are just the 8 that I care about, the 8 that I thought about that seemed interesting. Yeah. Now, the way that creating a faction works, we're not going to do any faction turns. We're not going to have them actually fight each other yet. That will be after the adventures. We are just going to make them, and in making them, this is what that means. So, when creating a faction, which oddly enough is at the bottom of this section, so just a sec, here we go. First thing we decide, are they a small, medium, or large power? Now, there are some guidelines to what a small, medium, or large power is. Effectively, a small power is usually stuck to one planet. They might have spaceships elsewhere. Like, they're still a faction. They still have, like, people around the whole sector. That's the thing about being a faction. You're big enough that people know about you, assuming that you're not secretive around. However, you have one major base of operations. You don't have, like, multiple different franchises. Or, like, different, bases. So, that's the small one, relatively speaking. You could still rule the entire planet. You could still be small. Medium, you have a couple planets to your name. Again, not total ownership, but you have major, significant influence on a couple of different planets, usually accompanied with bases. Lots of people know about you. You are a household name by this point. And a large faction is also known as a hegemony, if I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea if I am. And it means that you are really big. You are, like, relative to the sector, you are the United States relative to the world in terms of military power. It's not always military, but just in terms of, you are a force to be reckoned with if you are a large faction within the entire dozens of stars. You likely have direct multiple influences on many of them. You are known by, like, people who will have had barely any interstellar interaction with other planets will possibly have even heard of you then. Like, yeah. First few sentences between people coming from other planet visiting a planet with low tech. So, either way. Then there's some math involved. I'm not going to run you through the exact rules. This is not intended for that. There is an actual rulebook. It is free. Get it if you want the actual rules. Short version is, we choose where their bases will be located, which I've done. We calculate their stats based off of, basically, depending on their size, we choose 3 stats: force, wealth, and cunning. Force, how good they are at fighting things, how many military forces they have, their prowess, anything martial. Wealth is, obviously, it's not just liquid assets. It includes things like farms, industry, often, not all, but a good large amount of scientific research labs as well. And then cunning. So this is underworld stuff, this is sabotage, this is assassination, this is much more subtle and often quite dangerous, like prowess. So those are the 3 stats for a faction. Establish which of those are the highest and which of those are the lowest for each faction. And then you will assign them assets, again, depending on how big you've decided that they are. They get a different number. Small gets 1. Small gets 2. 1 in their highest stat, 1 in their lowest. One in their highest stat, 1 in their highest stat, any of the other two. And then medium assets get 2 of each, and then large get 3 of each. That is how it works. Each faction gets a tag. So this is like a special, like there's a list of tags that's basically tiny special ability or boost in a specific area. If a tag is, for example, for a faction secretive, then all of their assets will be stealthed and very hard to attack because in the fiction they won't know they're there. Other examples are Plutocratic. They only care about the faction that has the tag only cares and primarily cares about wealth and how much money you have and your business acumen. I don't know how to pronounce that really. And yeah, they would get a bonus to any wealth related rolls once per turn. So there's other stuff like that. You choose a tag from the list, and then you give them a goal. There's also a list of goals. The factions have their own XP trackers that they can use XP to increase their stats. They don't full on get level ups. Increasing their stats is what they would spend XP on. And you can spend XP to it. Basically, the higher you're increasing a stat, the exponentially more XP it takes. So it's a small amount of XP, relatively speaking, to increase your smallest stat by 1. It's a large amount of XP to increase your largest stat by 1. So that's the short and sweet of it. I think let's just get right into it. So we have a few different factions here. Let me switch back tabs. If I can remember the shortcut. Here we go. So we're going to start with a corporation. So this corporation's name, as I mentioned once, I think just once in session 0, is Quantum Jump Technologies. Yes. So this is a spacecraft and technologies company. In my sector, if you saw session 0, I mentioned it a few times, there was an empire called the Terran Supremacy. In the base Stars That Number lore, there was an empire called the Terran Mandate. That fell apart a long time ago. This Terran Supremacy was attempting to emulate them and trying to basically the whole like reclaiming humanity's lost heritage. There was a lot of passion, and not all of it was good passion. And some of it was, but they fell apart. In session 0, when we streamed it, I initially said that was about 20 years ago, 18 years ago. I have since changed my mind, and since it hasn't actually, we haven't played anything in character yet, yeah, I'm retconning it. It's not 18 years. I think it's about 5 or 6 years ago is when it happened. As I kept prepping and kept thinking and discussing with my other players about this sector and all of everything within it, the shadow of the Terran Mandate, it is big enough that it makes a lot more sense for it to be more recent. This is not that this empire was not sector spanning. It was not. It lasted for quite a while, but they took over like 5 or 6 planets, and so that's still a lot relative to most factions. They were still a big deal, but I think that 5 or 6 years is more appropriate for their size. Versus 18 years ago, people wouldn't be as affected by it as they seem to be in my factions. So, Quantum Jump Technologies, spacecraft and technologies company that formed from one of the splinters of the Supremacy, the Terran Supremacy Empire. They still have a lot of baggage from their history. They have a lot of the people and the leadership have tendencies towards like human first, like racism or speciesism. They also have a tendency to idealize the past, back when the Supremacy was in charge, back when they didn't have to. They were working within the government and had, yes, obviously working within the government itself can be sometimes trying, but also it's different, and they are idealizing that. They are definitely a company that wishes they could bring it back in a way. But they're still a company. They sell spaceships. They're all about technology. They sell spaceships, cyberware, drones. They sell weapons. They sell armors. They even sell mechs, um, communications gear, hacking, anything. These are big, big companies. And through their subsidiaries, they sell effectively anything that is modern tech level 4 post tech, but still quite high quality post tech. They run, for example, several technical schools on different planets. They do that to teach different tech related trades and then recruit from those schools. Some of them they own outright, and they are big enough that just everyone who goes to school there works for them after they graduate. Other times they're just like recruiting and hiring out of these schools in other planets. They aren't super interested in pre-tech right now because it's not mass producible. If pre-tech can be mass producible, and if they find specific items of pre-tech that are mass producible, they will go for it. But specific singular pre-tech objects, they'd only be interested in for R&D purposes. They wouldn't be interested in selling it directly. They were formed out of some old supremacy government divisions, and so and most of the old industry, like government-owned harvesters or farms or anything, factories, they now have taken over that. In fact, here we go. On the world that our players will be arriving in, again, spoilers, they've decided to start their first adventure arriving in Iria, which has the tags Doomed World and Major Space Yard. The Doomed World thing, of course, is the biggest focus. The world is going to be destroyed. Everyone's trying to get off of it, and it is only tech level 2, so they are utterly reliant on outside forces. But despite being tech level 2, they weren't always tech level 2. They got reduced down to tech level 2 during the war that destroyed the Terran supremacy because of the just like collateral damage. This entire planet was basically the primary and most brutal fighting ground on land. And so, yeah, no, these people used to have infrastructure and tech level 4 stuff, and then it got turned to rubble, except the Major Space Yard, which is now owned by Quantum Jump Technologies. So that's an example of them owning, like, this is the biggest manufactory that they own. And it's on a planet that's going to be destroyed. So while everyone else is trying to scramble to get the refugees off the planet, some very noble people are trying to do that, and some other people are trying to exploit them. Quantum Jump Technologies has their own hands full with trying to save their space yard. So, yeah. So their force rating is... Let's see, they are a medium-sized faction. So their highest stat of a medium-sized faction is 6. And as a corporation, wealth. Wealth is going to be their biggest asset. For any faction, your second highest stat is 1 less than your highest. So I've decided force. Force, they make spaceships, they make guns, they make cyberware. They make things that can kill people. And other things that don't kill people. But they likely have and can afford their own enforcers if need be. Force, second highest asset. Lastly, cunning. Cunning is rating 3. So it's always, you choose your highest stat. That depends on the size. After that, your second highest stat is 1 less. Your third highest stat is 3 less than your highest. Simple. We will then choose the assets. This is what this part of the spreadsheet shows. And these are automatically calculated, so we'll do that on a separate page. Each faction has HP. Each faction has income. The fac creds is a currency that each faction gains per turn. Automatically generated. They will acquire them based off of their stats. All of their stats contribute to income. Wealth contributes the most, but all of them do contribute. Their tag for this company is technical expertise. Which, does it tell me what it does? Does it? Will this add notes automatically? Does that? Okay. What if I choose it now? Alright, so I'll have to do this manually. And I will do this manually. Won't take me long. So technical expertise, if I insert a note. The faction is fueled... Oh, that's Theocratic. The faction is staffed by large numbers of expert engineers and scientists. They can turn even the most unpromising labor pool into superb technicians. That's the narrative. The effect, technically, is this faction... Go away, computer. You are being loud. Treats all planets on which they have a base of influence as if they were at least tech level 4. So normally you can only buy something on a planet if you A, have a base of influence there, and B, have the planet's a high enough tech level. These guys don't have to care about tech levels, as ignoring 5. They can be on a Stone Age planet and without any issues establish and build mechs there themselves. They are quite good at that. They can also build starship type assets on any world with at least 10,000 occupants. Normally, I think it's far more than that. Either 100,000, probably 100,000. It might be 1 million. I think it's 100,000. And so they require less people to build starships. Starships are expensive. Their goal? Yeah, we'll do that now. I was thinking about getting back to it. We'll do that now. So their goal is to expand influence. Once again, this isn't... Update notes for selection. Oh, there we go. If I do update notes for selection, it automatically did it. So they want to plant a new base of influence on another planet. They specifically, because they have a planet in mind, they want to go to Onkes? I haven't quite decided how this should be pronounced, but Onkes is a planet, or Onks. Onke? Don't know yet. But they want to expand to there. So that is where they want to be. There is some political stuff and still leftover conflict culturally on that planet about humans and aliens. And so I think that's the main reason why they want to get involved there, to sort that out for their benefit. So, yeah. Next, and lastly, we get to choose their assets. Separate tracker. Right here. So, oh, hold on a sec. XP, we'll start at 0. Relationship with the player characters, neutral for now. Right now, what they would be cool and be interested in is taking a look at the player character's ship. They stole a pirate ship, and Quantum Jump would definitely be interested in investigating that, just to see how the pirate ships work differently from normal ones, if they do work differently. But the player characters themselves, they're pretty apathetic towards them. Their homeworld is on Viante. So that is in Hex 101. Right here, Viante, the former homeworld of the Terran Supremacy. That still has some leftover cultural baggage from it. It's only been a few years. Their homeworld is on there. They also will have a base of influence somewhere, which I will start with. So, Quantum Jump Technologies, asset, base of influence. Firstly, they are going to actually have one on their homeworld of Viante, so we'll do that first. Homeworld of Viante. Now, I get to choose how much HP that they get and have. Right, for bases of influence, I just decide. So, these guys will have... How much? Pretty sure 29 health. Yeah, 29 health is how much the entire faction will have. Which, yeah. So, they will have 2 bases of influence that will be split between that. I think one of these are going to have 18 health. That'll be on their main planet, if it lets me. There we go. 18 health. That's fine. That's for base of influence. Doesn't matter. Anything else I wouldn't is automatically calculated. They are then going to have another base of influence of 9 health, and that one is going to be on Urea. Right, because of the whole space yard thing. Yeah, they're trying to figure that out. There we go. Bam. Okay, so those are the base of influence. Those don't count as their other assets. Now they get 4 assets in total. 2 wealth assets, and then 2 cunning or force assets. So their wealth assets, firstly, they are going to start with, as they tend to do, post-tech industry. They build post-tech. That is their whole thing. That's going to be on Viante. That's going to be their main manufactories are there. They are also going to start with a commodities broker, which is a very good asset. It can both attack people narratively, not forcefully attack people, but buy them out and deal with them to deal damage. And also they can use it to get discounts on buying stuff in the future, which is excellent. That is going to be on Urea. So that person, that commodities broker, probably like an expert team of negotiators, is going to be there and trying to deal with the crisis, because a lot of the locals of Urea are trying to get out, and they aren't really happy with Quantum Jump and the fact that Quantum Jump is just like ignoring them for their own. They're ignoring the people for the spaceships, which is totally what they would do. But yeah, so those commodities brokers are probably dealing with that. They get 2 more assets that are not wealth related. So firstly, there we go. Yes. They're going to have a strike fleet. These guys are going to have a strike fleet over Urea. This is not a threatening strike fleet, though it does have weapons. This is primarily these are many of the ships that they are using to... Their plan to try and salvage this space yard that is on the surface of the planet is to turn it into a space station orbiting the planet. So that's what they're doing with their commodities broker and strike fleet. That's what they're going to be doing for a bit. I have rolled, and I do know exactly when Urea will be destroyed. And I'm not going to say it here. I will say it when it happens. But they have time. And then they get 1 more asset. Covert Shipping. So this effectively represents their literal product shipping, and also with their product shipping, they use this to help their, what's the right word? Push their politics in a way. They can use this to supply and sell at a discount, or just sell in general to people that they might not otherwise want good PR with. They can covertly ship and sell materials to them. That is also on their home planet of Viante. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a faction. We have a few more to go, so we'll run through this. The next one is called the Ascendency. This, similar name to the Terran Supremacy, also a chunk of them that fell off. The Ascendency is actually basically, it was once the chief research division of the Supremacy. Their R&D departments, etc., etc. They are set up on the world of the tech level 5 world of Mabakazes. I've been pronouncing this wrong to myself the whole time. Mabakazai. Unless it's... Oh, no, it's Mabakazes. It's just cut off. There we go. So, effectively, when the Empire tried to curb some of the, what is now known as the Ascendencies, they weren't before, more ambitious research projects, quote-unquote, effectively meaning that it was incredibly unethical and still is. Research projects decided that with their superior technology, they would declare total independence from the Empire and deprive them of their greatest scientific minds while also fighting them. Not really common for most scientists to do. Unfortunately, for the Supremacy, Mabakazes is not a nice place to be for people. It is for scientists, not for anyone else. So yeah, the whole planet has its own history that's very disturbing. They existed as a primary science-based community before the Supremacy took them over. Then the Supremacy reached out to them. They joined forces, became part of them, and then rebelled later because they didn't feel like anyone saying no to the research projects. So now they're back on their own legs. This is the faction, and their home planet is the planet that Jackson escaped from. This is our AI player character. They made him. There are several. The way the Ascendency works is it's basically a very loose conglomerate of actually competing research organizations, and they fight. If you're familiar with Farvarona's as the UPC, where there's a bunch of sub factions very loosely organized, kind of like that, but all scientific research divisions. They all tend to, yeah, compete against each other, have rivalries. Sometimes they'll outright attack each other. The Ascendency is just a big label for a various messed up subcompanies. One of those subcompanies specifically, I know what, but I will leave that to be discovered in play. They made Jackson, but each of these subcompanies specialize in things. One of them does in AI and robotics, hence Jackson. Some of them do like food and fuel. Others of them do engineering and but like manipulation and mutation. Some of them make advanced weapons. All of that stuff. If they ended up somehow all working together cohesively, they would be probably one of the most dangerous forces in the sector. Except they have never done that, and I don't see that happening. So, yeah. The Ascendency also is a 6 in wealth, because in this case, the wealth, they have their own, effectively, the planet is theirs and theirs alone as a group. So they have all of the industry from that, and also it represents their scientific endeavors. Their cunning is 5, and their force is 3. So, same size, medium size. They are, yeah, they may make a lot of powerful weapons. They tend to, some of this stuff can be more devious, though. They have the tag Eugenics Cult, which is fun. And they have the goal, Eugenics Cult I will explain in a sec. They have the goal Expand Influence as well. You will find this to be quite common in most early faction games. They're like, okay, let's spread out, let's get some more planets, we'll get some easy XP before people start trying to kill us all. Or we start trying to kill everyone else. So they want to expand to... I didn't write down here where they want to expand to. What do they want to expand to? I should remember this. That could be it. For those of you who are players watching, you're seeing all the tags. Would it be here? Probably. They want to expand... I'm very surprised I didn't write that down. I will decide it later. They want to... The Expand Influence does not require you to choose what planet. You just want to set it up on any planet. Any new planet. You can't have multiple bases of influence on the same planet. But yeah, they want to set up multiple bases of influence. They are... mix between neutral and hostile. I'll go with hostile for now towards the PCs because Jackson escaped from them and they're willing to do whatever it takes. PCs are definitely hostile towards them, I'm pretty sure. So let's go with hostile. Their assets. Ooh, that did track awesome. No, that's a new feature for the spreadsheet that I haven't seen in the one I used for the original. So the faction asset tracker is working perfectly. So the Ascendency, they have got a base of influence on their homeworld of Mabakazes. There we go. I think I like the 18 and 9 one because it gives their homeworld a bunch more HP, but it doesn't give it all the HP. So, thank you, game. Thank you, Google. Their second base of influence is actually going to be on... I don't remember what the planet is. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly what it is. I don't remember the name. Reasonrary. So they have a secret research lab there. That is it. I know how it works within the rest of the planet. I will effectively, you know what? I'll explain it when the player characters probably inevitably stumble across it. They will also have a commodities broker as well. If you're, from a mechanical standpoint, if you're gonna have, if you can afford a commodities broker and if you have the stats to start with one, start with a commodities broker because it's fantastic. Their commodities broker is on Reasonrary, secretly negotiating and buying land and small term assets like property and creatures, spoilers, for the Ascendency to experiment on. After that, we've got venture capital. Oh, right. After that, we have venture capital, which is currently leftover and still functional investments by the Supremacy itself. So that is what this is functioning as. That is not on. Okay, I typed in that was on Reasonrary. That's not on Reasonrary. This is on Mabakazace. This is on their homeworld. They were not on Reasonrary when they got this venture capital. Yeah. And this is kind of how it works. The initial faction placement. Once all the factions and assets have been created, well, we're done for this stream after that. But then we'll basically bonk them against each other. That's the very simplified version. After that, we have venture capital, covert shipping as well. These are getting quite similar. This is much less corporate than Quantum Jump's covert shipping. It's actually present on Mabakazace as well. And it is very simple. They just have regular spaceships that are equipped with high tech level stealth capabilities, and so they just ship stuff and no one can actually sense it usually. So that's much more simple than like a truck full of Amazon boxes that some of them don't contain Amazon products, which is what Quantum Jump uses. Last one they have is organization moles. So these guys are pretty strong, pretty pesky, and these guys are prominent in Reasonrary. So they are subtly becoming more present in the culture of the planet in total. After that, that is our faction, actually. The Ascendency is done. Next, the Zarin Vanguard. So, I strongly debated whether or not to make these guys a large faction or a medium faction. These guys have, if it was possible, I'd make it kind of in between. But I think these guys are still finding their place and finding their foothold in the world. There's not a lot of them, but they are tech level 5. They are very powerful. They have a lot of recognition from their role in the war. They have a lot of things going for them right now, but they are still finding their foothold in a time of change for them. They were just recently established, even though they have a lot of quick notoriety. They're trying to become more, getting out of the limelight and into the stage of the faction turn and of the interstellar politics. So I decided they're going to be a medium, not a large. Yeah. The Zarin Vanguard is, for those unfamiliar, an alliance of a specific race of aliens and also humans. They are tech level 5. They are based on one specific planet primarily. They are acting right now kind of as the space police. Oh, that's not true. They're acting as the space police right now. They're acting as like the space Canadian police, by which I mean they're not trying to be brutal, they're trying to be nice, and they're trying to let everyone do their own thing and let everyone be independent. They don't want to be the new evil empire that they just defeated. They're trying to be cool. But that's also difficult when their homeworld, I'll just skip to this first and come back to the rest later. Their homeworld is in the same Zeri, hence the Zarin Vanguard. Their homeworld's in the same hex, 0203, as the Ascendency. The same hex as a horrible, horrible planet that is culturally feral, and yet it's tech level 5, and so it is both powerful and feral. And the Ascendency is there, and they're not nice. They're kind of devious and dangerous, and the epitome of Maltech. And so there's some contention over what the heck to do with them. They have Force 6, Cunning 5, Well 3. Their tag is Preceptor Archive. I thought about this for a while, and effectively, this represents them using their technology to teach other people. There are a lot of worlds in this sector that do not have tech level 4. This is not a nice or in any way good sector. There are many, many planets that are not doing well. So these guys can help them. So, yeah. Their goal right now is, as they are is Peaceable Kingdom. So don't attack anyone is literally their goal as a faction for a few turns. They're the Canadian Space Police. Sure, as an individual, they will still pull you over. They will still be the cops, but they don't want to be soldiers. They want to be your friendly neighborhood police. They want to they want to be Spider-Man. The relationship right now towards the player characters is neutral. The player characters, I think first impressions for this will strongly matter. Right now it's neutral. I think it can change depending on how they treat them, because they will be present on Theora. Because there are people that need to get off of a planet that it won't actually explode, but it will as good as explode. And so they want to help them. So they will be there. They will meet the player characters. And let's find out what happens. That is the turn. I'm looking for this, the asset tracker. Did I move this? Yes, I did. Go over there. That's why that was weird. Zarin Vanguard will have a base of influence on their home planet of Zeri. I think I'm going to stick with the 1818 rule. I like that a lot. They also will have a base of influence on Onks. On case. Oh, I don't know how to describe this. Let me look. ONQES. So QES alone would be like K? Onk? Onk. That's definitely better than Onks. Let's go with Onk. So, yeah. They have a base of influence there. They also have pre-tech infantry. This is a scary, powerful soldier force with a lot of health and a lot of damage. These guys are difficult for most factions to control. There are only 2 tech level 5 planets in the world, in the sector. They are both in the same system. One is controlled by the Ascendency, and one is controlled by the Zarin Vanguard. So, most other people are likely to not have pre-tech stuff. They can try to get it. To start off with, no. So, the pre-tech infantry is on their homeworld. This is the bulk of their forces. They're currently resting still from the war. It was 5 years ago, but they're still they're not gonna deploy soldiers. They have them. They don't need them. These are mostly people who have not retired, but been sent home from the war. They are ready to take up arms again. They're super advanced arms if they need to, but they don't. So these guys, for all intents and purposes, the pre-tech infantry are on reserve for now. The strike fleet is their next asset. So they will also in addition to Quantum Jump, have a strike fleet at Drea. Now, unlike Quantum Jump's fleet, which is about saving the space station, this strike fleet consists of a bunch of spaceships that are trying to ship refugees to safety. So they're actually, doing that. Next, they have a party machine. So this is not a literal party machine in terms of a dance party. This is a political party machine. They have control of a specific area of a political party, and that is their homeworld. Kind of makes a lot of sense. Let me firstly political party machine. There we go, and that is on their homeworld. And then they also have some post-tech infantry. They would have pre-tech infantry, except they don't have the wealth for it. So they are producing very good post-tech stuff for their people, and a lot of this is likely, right now in this current time, it's being likely oriented around the refugees. It's like, let's produce, we're tech level 5, we can produce super high quality stuff. Let's, instead of producing super high quality stuff, let's produce more tech level 4 stuff than we would tech level 5 stuff. Give it to all these refugees for free or at very little cost, so that they can, when and wherever they're being moved to, they will get like a package of survival. So that is also on Zarin. Now it should be noted that a party machine each turn provides one fat cred to its owning faction. So if I go to here, I'm going to add the income. Should not, let me double check something. I want to check something real quick. Delete party machine. Now, if I go to here, okay, I was checking if this auto-calculated the faction party machine. It does not. I didn't expect it to, but it auto-calculated other stuff. So, insert note, +1 from party machine. Every single turn. Income is effectively increased by 1 thanks to that. And that's the Zarin Vanguard. Did I give them a tag? I did give them a tag. We're good. Okay. Next one. This is an interesting faction, which we haven't seen anything about in Session 0 yet. The Heralds of Armageddon. These guys have a lot of stuff behind them, and I'm not going to spoil it all. But effectively, they are a doomsday cult, except they're trying to work with the sector to stop the doomsday. They're not like, except that the world is doomed doomsday cult. They are like, we think that that something bad is going to happen. Let's try to stop this doomsday cult. So, kind of different. But they are still called the Heralds of Armageddon, and all the gravitas that they try to invoke with that. They are also massive. So they hail way back down from this area, and they have just spread out across the rest of the whole sector in various ways. They have missionary, like they've been around for a long time, possibly centuries. They have grown. They are, it's weird to say this, but they are the biggest religion, but they are also very spread out. People have their own beliefs on different planets. It varies, but the Heralds of Armageddon is fairly universal. It is like it is a prepper religion. They have signs of the apocalypse that they believe in. It's very detailed. But the short version is their cunning is 8. Their wealth 7. They control some of them. They actually have full control over a planet that has a very large population, so they have a lot more wealth than they might otherwise. And their force is 5. They are a force to be reckoned with, but they're also very spread out. So you are going to see some assets that these guys have, and I'm going to wait to reveal exactly what they are in play. For now, if it turns out that these things won't be explored in play, it'll all come spilling out here. So, yeah. Their first tag is, this is their tag, Machiavellian. So they like to plan, they like to scheme, I'm not saying the Heralds of Armageddon are not exactly what they say they are, but they have some interesting leadership. I'll leave it at that. Smart leadership too, in the scheming way. Their goal is to expand influence. They want to go to Zeste. Yeah, I pronounced it right. Zeste, which is on... I think it's somewhere in here. Did I just... Oh, yeah, it just switched. Okay, unswitch. There we go. No, I don't like this sectors without number switching thing. I don't want to drag my stars around. I just want to select between two of them. But if I just click between two of them too fast, it decides to switch them. Which it is switched. Okay, switch back. Switch back. Oh, switch back. What the heck? This hex is supposed to be at 302. There we go. Okay. Zeste is where they want to go. This hex. That's where these guys want to establish a base of influence. And that's fine. They have 0 XP. Their relationship towards the player characters are neutral for now. Their homeworld is way down in Hex 508, bunch of planets, SWN, which is a planet with billions of people, hence their high wealth. I think we are good for them. Let's do assets for them, yeah. Base of influence. They're going to have a base of influence on SWN, which is just 18 health. And you're going to, yep, there we go. Okay. SWN. They are also going to have a base of influence on Eduselma. Oh, these guys have more health. I'll have to figure out their health. These guys are the first non-medium faction to have. And they are going to have another base of influence because they're a large faction. And this one is going to be on Ursadi. So, Eduselma and Ursadi are in 301 and 406. So, 301, they have a base of influence up here. They have a base of influence down here. And they have a base of influence 406. Here. So, yeah, they are quite spread out, have multiple bases. They have some stuff. Now they have actually 49 health and not 29. So divide by 3, it's not going to be divided equally. Their base, let's see, let's give them 29 health here, 10 health in each of the other two. That gives them 49. They do have way more influence and health. I think I'll go with actually 24. I think this one's... There we go. Yeah, that's better. So they have the least amount of influence up north, the most the closer you go down to the south of the sector. They also get more assets. Instead of 2 each, they get 3 each. So their assets are going to be a popular movement. And that is going to be taking place on Ursadi. Ursadi is it's an urban covered world. It is not controlled by them outright, but they have a popular movement going on right now. So they are an up-and-coming cultural influence there. So, yeah. After that, we have the Book of Secrets is what they have. I will describe what that is if it comes out, but I know what the Book of Secrets, how they have it. They have a Book of Secrets. This allows them to force any faction to re-roll 1 die for any action at 1 point. Once per turn. But if you have multiple, you can only do it once per turn, even if you have multiple. So, yeah. It is on their home planet of SWN. So they are getting 3 cunning assets. So they've had a popular movement, they've had a Book of Secrets, and they're also going to have a Covert Transit Net. The Covert Transit Net will be on Ursadi. This represents... Covert Transit Net is an upgrade to Covert Transit. It is effectively, they have a network, an established network of people that will ship people and things across the stars for them. So, that is that. The Heralds also have 3 non-cunning assets, starting with Psychic Assassins. Despite being called Psychic Assassins, they're actually a Force asset, despite the fact that they're assassins and they use cunning as a stat. They are a Force asset, so they get those, and they are employing those. And they are on Ursati right now. They are there for reasons. Hopefully they don't have to use them. I expect most of these assets to be used. They also have a commodities broker, and that is way up north in Edu-Selma, where their other base of influence is. That... 2, 3... Did I just overwrite something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Did I just overwrite something? Hold on. Popular Movement, Book of Secrets. I didn't overwrite something. I forgot something that I missed. They have an R&D department. This allows them to treat any world as tech level 4 for them, specifically for when purchasing wealth assets. I thought it was wealth and cunning, but I could be wrong. There are some assets, some of them that are just like wealth and cunning, and some of them are just wealth. So, yep, for the purposes just for buying wealth assets, you get to treat everything as tech level 4. So, yeah. Now, where is that placed? That is on Ursati as well. Brilliant. 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 I think that is perfect. Let me check one thing real quick. Yes. That's force assets. Cunning assets are at the top. This is very different in terms of the order in the book compared to here. So wealth in the book, wealth is at the bottom, and cunning is at the top, and force is in the middle. So I'm used to this order from the table, and in the book it's totally different, very different. Anyways, that's done. After the Heralds, we have the Howling Corsairs. This is the faction of the player characters. These are space pirates. These are very interesting space pirates. These guys, honestly, you just need to watch the first session to really understand it. But effectively, they're space pirates that really like elves, that primarily speak Lothlorien, like Tolkien Elvish, but they're also kind of like inner city-esque, and like they wear dark black clothes, and it's like they and have tattoos that have barbed wire on them, but the barbed wire is in the shape of like elven letters, and they really like soccer, and it's the biggest inspirations I thought about for these guys. They're kind of like dark elf pirates in a way. Like they're elves, but also like not normal elves, but also they're not like actual elves. They're just humans who change their ears to be pointed using like modifications. They're just people. They're not different from other people otherwise. They haven't been like genetically altered in any major way. They just really like elves. It's kind of weird, but that's their culture. And also they are really, really scary. They used to be a relatively small piece on the chessboard, and then most of the military, most of the military, when the Empire collapsed, went and joined them. They control this whole sector. Every single planet here is tech level 3 or below. There are no spaceship worlds. In fact, most of them are tech level 2 or below, meaning they have medieval tech or less. There's, I think, just one tech level 3, which is modern day tech, and there's one tech level 4 planet, except that's their home world, and that's why it's tech level 4. They've been keeping this entire section of space under their boot, raiding it, pillaging it, gathering wealth like a dragon. They are weird and ridiculous and also fearsome. They have been in existence and been a force in this sector, in this area of the sector, for a very long time. And now they have grown beyond their means in a way, by which I mean they may be looking for new hunting grounds soon, new pillaging grounds. Some of these planets, like Dying Race and Minimal Contact, they don't have that much left. Some of these guys have tech level 2. Like they're running out of stuff that the pirates are interested in pillaging. You can't exactly find spaceship parts in the medieval ages, even stuff that would make spaceship parts if you have your own engineers. So they now have the prowess to take on larger forces and may want to do that. Yeah. So they have a force of 8. They are despite everything, they are the best fighting force in the sector. And that is why they have managed to keep their hold on everything. That they have the biggest. They are technically the biggest empire in the sector by far, even bigger than the old empire, the old Terran supremacy when it was at its peak. Except they're not an empire. They basically just pillage, or you pay protection fees, or both, and then they leave and do their own thing. They are very much exploitative. They are very much mean people. So they have a force of 8, a cunning of 7, and a wealth of 5. Their tag, that's easy. Pirates is a tag. Their goal, blood the enemy. They don't really care what enemy. They just want to fight people right now. The relationship with the player characters, hostile. Player characters stole their spaceship. Spaceships, even for them, spaceships, they probably have more spaceships than anyone else. But spaceships are still very rare and very expensive relative to the scale. It's not like everyone gets a spaceship instead of a car. It's like everyone... What's the best thing? Buying a spaceship is like buying a downtown skyscraper. It's way more expensive than buying a house. It's way more expensive than buying a car. It's like buying your own... It's not like buying a boat, though that is also money sink. It's like buying your own cruise ship in terms of costs. So they are mad that their cruise ship was stolen. Their home planet is Tyrus. 0702, all the way up here. That is their tech level 4 planet. And everything else is not tech level 4. Yeah, let's give them a bunch of assets. They have... Oh, base of influence. Let's start with that. I was going to do their other stuff. But yeah, base of influence. They have 3 bases of influence. 1, and then I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, yeah. Oh, that didn't... There is a shortcut for doing this, I'm sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. They have 3 bases of influence. Firstly, on their homeworld of Tyrus. I think I'm going to stick with the other one. So that was 24, 10, and 15 and 10. I like that. Go away. I wish it would stop notifying me of that at all. After that, they have 0503. So they have their homeworld here. They also have a kind of an outpost here. This is a base that is the closest base that they have to this area. It is definitely their, like, when you're traveling through Starship, you can't just jump all the way over here. Like, sure, you might be able to go like this and avoid them, but they'll still have people around. I mean, they have a bigger base here to allow them to travel further south. So they are in 0503 as well. There we go. I think this is a weird way of calling it Mars. That X is like a Z. It's Mars. A very weirdly spelled Mars. And that will be the 15. Hold on, is that right? 20, yeah, 24, 15, that's 39, and then 10 more is 49. Yep, that is correct. And the last one will be on 0407 Ranusis. Way down here. They have basic influence. This is their whole area. They pretty much haven't left this area. There are pirates everywhere else, but I think some of those pirates either hope to one day join the Howling Corsairs or are weirded out by their elfness and don't want to join them. So, yeah, most pirates are them, and they haven't left. Capital Fleet is their first. This represents the majority of the very high-tech, high-quality battleships, war-ready battleships, that deserted and joined the Howling Corsairs after the Empire fell. This includes everything from, like, many former military generals are now. Military generals, military commanders, admirals, captains, like, all part of this now. There's probably some tension amongst the faction in terms of, like, it being accepted by the rest of the Corsairs, culture meshing and clashing, but the Corsairs definitely aren't going to say no to some super-powered, awesome spaceships. And being that it is their capital fleet and they haven't moved out anywhere yet, that is on their home planet of Tyrus. After the capital fleet is a blockade fleet. I wish autocorrect was a thing, but I do understand why it's not, but I'm too used to it. This is their other normal spaceships that are pirate ships. This is their big fleet. This is way down in Mars. I'll go with Mars. I like it. It's yeah, way down on Mars. This is primarily the, like, small time raiding a village or a small town, or just extorting them and asking them to pay protection fees, or else who knows what could happen. And then they aren't just good at spaceships; they have soldiers too. They don't just prey on planets; they prey on any spaceships that are coming through that zone. They have people who are very good at, like, boarding, capturing. They don't just necessarily want to kill everyone on board. Ransoms are a thing. Forcible recruitment is a thing. You can work as a slave for the Howling Corsairs. They are not nice. So they have Space Marines to go and acquire that. And those guys are on Ranusis, their outpost. No, that's not their outpost world. Mars is their outpost world. They're way down below in Ranusis. They also have the asset called treachery. So they are very good at making people turn. They have ways to make people turn tail and betray those that they might otherwise not, and that is on Mars as well. So whenever anyone might be attacking their front outpost, there might be something that might go wrong. They have Blockade Runners. So if they need to run stuff, if people try to, like, this effectively lets them transport units to worlds that don't want them there. No world wants them there. Of course they have that. And lastly, they have a demagogue. This is a influential speaker or personality. I think this is like the pirate captain. I haven't detailed them yet, but this is like big personality pirate captain who just throws their influence around and you do what they say. This is like kind of this is not going to be a Galadriel. This is going to be like the Galadriel if she took the ring from Frodo. Galadriel. This is going to be not supernatural, but like that kind of dark, powerful elf-ish person. So they have a demagogue. That demagogue is staying near the capital fleet on their homeworld of Tyrus. Yeah. So that's the Howling Corsairs. Couple left. 4 left. We are slightly over halfway through. I'll go through this quickly. The Penitent is what the next faction is called. The Penitent it is formed out of what was once the former prison planet of the Supremacy, they have their own weird culture and like social system where they still take prisoners. They are a mercenary company, is the short version of it. They still take prisoners. Whenever you hire them, that is the first clause on the contract. They can take any prisoners for their own reasons. And those prisoners are dumped on the prison planet because the ones who work in the armies live in the space station above the planet. And those prisoners, they either work to produce the materials needed for the rest of the company, or if they are good and capable and show promise, they can join the company over time, and then they are fitted with a loyalty chip, which is every bit as weird and creepy and horrifying as it sounds, and then they will fight for the penitent. And they, true to their name, every penitent nowadays, there used to be some wardens, that was some time ago. Well, it wasn't that long ago. Any of the penitent foot soldiers, let's put it that way, were prisoners, criminals, and they are paying their dues by acting as soldiers. So, due to their loyalty chips, which includes multiple fail-safes, it is full-on bomb in the brain, but also here's some chemicals that make you feel good whenever you, like, here's a dopamine hit whenever you do what we want. And here's some stuff that'll make you feel less fear, and like here's some Space Marine it's not going to be as powerful as Space Marine, but it'll make you feel like a Space Marine from Warhammer 40,000. So they are individual penitent ones are some of the most fearsome warriors in the sector because they are so enormously, like, they feel no pain in the moment. More so than normal adrenaline. They are very capable. Their entire lives are soldiers. That is what it means to be a penitent one. They are zealous. But that's not their tag. Their tag is mercenary company, because that is what they are. So, 6 force. They are a medium organization. 5 wealth. They are a mercenary company. Gotta make that cash. And 3 cunning. Mercenary company. That tag means that they get to move any asset to any world within 1 hex as part of an action. Most other factions are much more limited in their mobility. Their goal is to expand influence, for now. They are not super close to anyone that they want to fight. They are close to other factions, but none that they actually want to fight or like take contracts against. So they just want to expand influence and get closer to the fight with their main forces. They don't even right now know about the existence of the player characters, so yeah. And their homeworld is Orlat, which is the former prison planet itself. Way down here, Mercenaries Prison Planet. You'll see it's tech level 2. That is not tech. Most people who are prisoners and not actually joined to the soldiers are tech level 2. But the Penitent have some stuff that allow them to go beyond tech level 2. Yes. Yes. Now let me check something real quick. Because I was going to say that the Penitent ones would have a laboratory. Which would allow them. But is that just for wealth assets? It's just assets. Okay, so that is assets. And this is wealth assets. Cool. Just double checking for consistency's sake. Laboratory is any asset, and that's what they have. So first, the Penitent. Oh, that is moving. Go away. There we go. Bases of influence, 2. How do I... Hold on. If I just do like this... No. I don't know how to do that, so I'm just gonna... I know it's possible. They should have 2 more of each. Yep, perfect. So... And they have 29 health in total. And for previous medium ones, it was 18 and 9, which I definitely do like. You're going to tell me not to edit that. I'm going to say no. I want to edit it anyways. There are 2 bases of influence. One is on Orlat. The biggest one is obviously on their own homeworld. Next, they also will have a base of influence on Zarama at 705. Way on the other side of the sector. They are helping out Zarama government. They have a contract there right now and a base of influence from it. They're helping reinforce the police state that is on Zarama. It is a Badlands world with a police state, and those trying to enforce a police state on a world that is as bad as a Badlands world, yeah, it's going to be tough. So the government there got some contracts in with the Penitent to help them. I also don't think they're tech level 4. Oh, they are tech level 4. Okay. I was going to say, the tech level 4 soldiers will help. The Penitent ones still will really help. They have a grav tank formation on Zarama to help keep people in line. This is literally tanks patrolling the streets. They also have post-tech infantry. These guys are actually not on Zarama. They're not every single one of their forces are committed to there. They're still open to additional contracts. It is on Orlat. They're gonna expand out. They have a laboratory on Orlat. This allows them. This represents their space station base that most of the soldiers use. This allows them to use Tech Level 4 stuff to purchase Tech Level 4 stuff at a slightly more expensive rate. And this is the last thing they have is a post-tech industry on Orlat. This represents the the prisoners that are currently working their resources and producing whatever they need as part of their stay there. If you're a prisoner for the Penitent, you don't ever get released. You either live the rest of your life on the planet, or you join the Penitent and live the rest of your life fighting things for them. There is no other in between. So that's a thing. Next, the Kroff Mega Conglomerate. This is an alien corporation. This is a corporation. I do have some pictures that I found that properly describe and portray these aliens. These aliens are actually immortal. They can be killed, but they are immortal. They have an unlimited natural lifespan. Many of them that are still alive still were alive before the Scream. They have been around for ages. They are old. But they haven't always been as corporate as they are now, and they are becoming more corporate now as they have spread out. After the Scream, there's like, oh, humanity isn't around to keep us down anymore. Alright, let's expand. The downside about being immortal is, with a mega corporation, to just use terms directly from Shadowrun, some people are eternal CEOs, and most people are eternal wage slaves, working their desk job. Yeah. As a faction, this makes them quite potent. And at an individual level, it's probably quite miserable. But yeah, these guys have 6 wealth. These guys have 5 cunning. These guys have 3 force. They are immortal. Killing something is a huge no, because they're immortal, and that is a even bigger crime. It's not like anyone had 20 years to live. Everyone has an unlimited amount of time to live unless they are killed. Usually forcibly, yeah, is a thing. They can lose organs and regenerate them even, but if you, like, shooting one of these guys is not instant death, but if you go out of your way to kill one, yeah, shooting one is still possibly going to kill it, though. They're not that invulnerable. Just, yeah. They're lobster people. That's what they look like. Not next, but their tag is Plutocratic. These guys do not fight, but they will battle you in the arena of business any day. So they care mostly about money. They get bonuses when making wealth attacks once per turn. So, yeah. They, again, don't even know or care about the existence of the player characters. They also want to expand influence, commercial influence, for now. Their homeworld is on... I haven't yet decided for sure how to pronounce this. I'm thinking Ciorzagel or Kiorzagel. Kiorzagel. I like Ciorzagel better. That is... Nope, that's why I'm here. Yep, Immortals Megacorp. Tech level 4+, so they're quite advanced. They are the closest. They're one of the most advanced planets outside of that specific system that has the 2 tech level 5 planets. So they have Kroff, Mega Conglomerate, has Venture, Base of Influence, Base of Influence, Base of Influence, Base of Influence. So, and you're going to say I shouldn't edit it. I will anyways. Base of Influence, Sjorzagel, Homeworld, most health, and Mars. Yes, that same Mars as mentioned, as the pirates have stuff on. Kroff doesn't really mind selling to pirates. They are completely business-minded, not involved in any physical fights. They are okay selling to pirates. While Quantum Jump sells technology, sells other stuff, Kroff has grown its business as being like it does everything under 100 subsidiaries or more. They sell the regular stuff. They are the people who will sell you your toothpaste through 3 shell companies. They are the people, I don't know if I'm using the term shell company correctly. They are the people who will just, they have their tendrils and their claws in everything, and they do not specialize in high-tech stuff. They just do the regular, mundane, everyday stuff. You want to buy a flashlight? Well, you got 3 selections, and they're all set at different companies, and all 3 of those companies are probably owned by these guys. So, yeah. They have 2 Base of Influence, which we just detailed. They also have Venture Capital. Hold on a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's correct. Okay. They have Venture Capital on their homeworld. They have a commodities broker on Mars that is negotiating with the pirates, with the Howling Corsairs. They have a party machine on their homeworld, which is it's not exactly it's a single party planet. And they have Covert Shipping on Mars, thanks to the pirates. This is part of kind of like some of the pirates or people who maybe didn't quite want to be an elf pirate, decided to join up with these guys and just be a smuggler instead. Yeah. That is that. Next, we have the Ciphers. The Ciphers were once the Perimeter Agency. Once created by, again, Terran Supremacy. There's a lot of leftover stuff from here, from them that are factions. So they're a Perimeter Agency. They do not like Maltech, and there may or may not, and like the Ascendency is Maltech, is like waving a flag that says, hey, we make Maltech and love Maltech. So the Ciphers are they aren't happy with them at all. They officially don't exist. They officially, like, the Ciphers didn't operate under the name the Ciphers. They were the Perimeter Agency. That is the name that they went by when the Terran Supremacy ran them. The Perimeter Agency dissolved when the Empire did, and then shortly thereafter the Ciphers, with many of the same people and many of the same assets, popped up. Same people, new name, to continue the fight privately. They are not super secretive. That is not their tag. People know they exist. Their tag, spoilers, is Perimeter Agency. Basically, they get extra bonuses when trying to detect stealth assets and when trying to fight high-tech assets. So, yeah, it's quite good. Though high-tech assets are also incredibly dangerous, so they need that to survive. They have a 6 in Cunning. This is the MI6, but of anti-evil tech. Force of 5, and a Wealth of 3. Their goal right now, is expand influence. It is the default goal at first. Everyone wants to get another planet. Everyone wants to have their fingers in all the pies. What I find with my last game, and what I do find here too, most factions will start off peaceable and then get more and more violent not literally forcefully violent, but violent with their like business fights and their cunning fights and stuff like that over time. They will get in more fights as time goes on. But I am perfectly content to have most of them be expand influence. I already know who has, like, these guys, they've got beef with these guys. Like, I know that's going to happen. They're moving on it. They actually want to expand influence to get closer to them. They specifically want to get there. They actually had a base a long time ago on the planet that had of the Ascendency on their homeworld, back as part of the deal for them both being part of the larger organization. These guys were supposed to keep these guys in check. They failed. These guys rebelled. Kind of was the big kicker in the Empire and led it to be crumbling. So they want to expand influence specifically to their homeworld. We shall see if they are capable of that. Towards the player characters, currently they have an AI player character with them. The player characters have an AI. One of them is an AI. This makes them immediately of interest to the Ciphers, but technically Maltech is only an unbreaked AI, as rare as AIs are. And Jackson was made by the Ascendency. So they are interested, but they are technically neutral. They aren't friendly, they aren't hostile. They are interested but want to know what is up with Jackson and the player characters in total before they make any decisions about how they're either going to be friendly or hostile, but they haven't decided yet. So that's a thing. And there is a bit of a spoiler here. I think I'll actually leave that. I know what's up with them. Actually, because of that. No, they're friendly towards Jackson. They are definitely friendly towards Jackson. There is a thing that I just remembered. That is the thing. We'll discuss it in play. It's to do with Jackson's backstory. They have met Jackson before. I will leave it at that. Their homeworld is the homeworld of Inanrat, 0203. They have a secret base there. That is their secret headquarters. And now they have 2 bases of influence, and then they have 4 more assets. Inanrat is their biggest base of influence. I think I'm actually gonna make this one bigger. This is like their biggest base. So this one's just gonna be 5. And this is gonna be on Veonte, where they supposedly had it was their old main base, and then they kind of went dark. But they still have some ties there. Cool. They have a covert transit net, allowing them to covertly transit things across the area where they need to without anyone knowing. They have organization malls on Veonte. They don't just have a few, like, they still have their ear to the ground in that place, in the former capital and still somewhat influential planet of the Terran supremacy. They have some psychic assassins on Inanrat, so these guys are just chilling at home. They're not out to assassinate anyone yet. And they have a laboratory on their home planet, as the home planet's not tech level 4, so this allows them to treat it like it's tech level 4. And the last faction is the Rose Pact. This is the only small faction that we are having at first. Usually, because most of the factions that aren't most of the groups that the player characters will encounter that aren't already a faction tend to be like sub-planetary level. Like, 2 factions warring against each other on a planet will likely both be small factions and stuff like that. So the Rose Pact is the only one currently a faction. One of our player characters is from the Rose Pact and used to work for them. That put them on the spotlight. Before that, I wasn't 100% sure on whether or not to make them a faction. We have no criminals right now, so I was likely going to make them a faction no matter what. But they are on a tech level 3 planet, a very popular and very wealthy tech level 3 planet, but still tech level 3. And they don't have what is necessary to properly like expand yet. So that's going to be their main challenge. They're not going to be the other factions are just getting expand influence, and they're going to be peaceful for a while, and then they're going to fight each other. These guys are going to try and get to the point where they're capable of fighting other factions. That is very intentional. So, yeah. So, a small faction starts with 4 at its highest stat, 1 less at its second highest stat, and 2 less at its smallest stat. So yes, 1 in force. They are not, like, they still have enforcers on an individual level, but if they're fighting any soldiers or stuff, these guys will just go down. Luckily, they're kind of out of the way. Their home planet, way up here. It is Theora. And their tag is secretive. I will reconsider secretive in a future date. Actually, it won't take long. These guys, so the Rose Pact is effectively an enormous criminal network that deals in effectively all various types of crime, but they specialize in exotic drugs manufactured on their home world of Theora that has a bunch of like unusual resources that you can use to manufacture exotic drugs there. It's the reason the planet is so popular, because the way the government runs it is that effectively many illicit things on other worlds, or flat out illegal things to do, are perfectly legal here, except violence. Anything violent related, like anything that is violent, is still as illegal as it is on another planet. But anything else that might be looked down upon or be taboo is not taboo here. So that is the thing. That is a big reason why the planet has become so popular. It is also very out of the way, which is why other people haven't, like, people who may have felt like they morally should put a stop to that have not yet put a stop to that. So, yeah. They have the Peaceable Kingdom tag. This is very intentional. They are intentionally saving up credits during the Peaceable Kingdom faction. Also, there's no one around for them to fight, so it's easy XP. I think I'll go with neutral for now. So they're saving up fact creds. They want to expand outside. Eventually, they want to expand outside of their own means, but they can't build spaceships. Spaceships will come to them, privately owned spaceships, visitors. It's a big tourist trap. Not trap, it's a big tourist destination. But the actual infrastructure on the planet itself, it can't build spaceships. Don't have the technology for it. So they want to be able to get that. They are starting a good few steps below every other faction here. That's very intentional for me. I'm comfortable with that. There will be other smaller factions that I very much expect to join this spreadsheet over time as the player characters explore more stuff. There are a few different planets that have their own various civil wars going on between two factions, so I will add them to here. It probably will rarely make the actual sector-wide news, but when they come back to the planet, if they come back to the planet, they can be like, oh, how's the war going? And one of them will be like, everything's on fire and we're dying, help. Because on the spreadsheets, everything will have been on fire for them, and they will have been dying, help them. So this is the last faction. Let's do their assets. Rose Pact get, as a small faction, they have 1 base of influence. They have 2 assets. That's it. Their base of influence is on their home world of an Anrat. Nope, I was reading the Cipher thing. On their home world of Theora. What is 15? 15. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it's 15. It is 15. Cool. And they will have a monopoly on the planet that they effectively control all of the drugs for. There are drug mines. It is not a nice place to be in a lot of ways, but it's not full-on anarchy. There are very specific, just very different rules. And they have saboteurs. So they have some means of defending themselves using covert and economical methods if they need to. But they're still at an enormous disadvantage. And they may or may not be open to hiring the player characters or anyone else to go help them expand. So that could be useful. And that is faction placement. That has been, despite the fact that I prepped this, that has been longer than I expected. Talking takes time, turns out. Tune in at some point for the first faction turn. Same channel, Primarch the Mage. This is the first faction turn will take place after either a month in-game or when the first adventure is finished in-game. First adventure usually is pretty quick, so it might be a week or two. Might be, I expect it to be 3 weeks at most before I'm running the first actual faction turn where all of these people, with all of their assets, just start, like, again, banging them together and letting them do stuff. So, yeah. That is how this is set up. Like I've already said at the beginning of the stream, there is a lot of initial setup and not a lot of time. Like, doing this once a month is nothing compared to a lot of other games prep. It can still take some time, but I find it both entertaining, doesn't take as much energy as having to make everything else up yourself specifically, and fun. It's fun to see, like, these soldiers are going to fight these other soldiers, or maybe something else like cyber ninjas versus, like, lawyers. Cyber ninjas are attacking lawyers, and that works about as well as expected. Cyber ninjas are full on attacking the lawyers, and it's fun to see how that plays out, because sometimes they can go in very unexpected ways, and I do not have control over it goes. I get to control the decisions the faction makes, but there's dice and random chance in my own prep, which is very well implemented, makes it very fun. So thank you everyone for watching. The actual show itself, you can see it on my panel below the stream, and I will link it in YouTube as well, is on twitch.tv/goldenwh. You can see the stream archives for previous shows, and you can see the current show. That is on Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is my own time. You can tune in. I'm streaming this on a Saturday. Tomorrow we do not have a show. I am unavailable. I have a family dinner that's been planned for like a month. So tune in next week, 8 days from when I am talking now, to check it out. Session 1. Let's see what my player characters do on Urea, the planet that is going to explode eventually. Thank you. Now, how do I stop streaming again? I think this is how.